Welcome, everyone. Go ahead and have a seat. So, why don't you take the time now to greet your neighbors. And may they be used. So that seems like it's in the category of those itself. So now we'll have some wonderful words from our wonderful practitioner of the day, which will come after the chant
There's only one life, David. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my. Keep it going. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That is my life now. There's only one.
My life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect.
My life.
That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now.
There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one.
I just invite you to breathe that in. There is indeed only one of us. Each of us is a reflection of that indwelling presence. That one life, that one heartbeat, beating itself through all of creation, creating out of itself into more of itself, and yet remaining whole, perfect, and complete within itself. I am made up out of God's stuff. Every cell, every atom of my being is filled to overflowing with God substance. God is source, substance, and supply, and I am part of it, as is each one listening to this word. And indeed, every being, everywhere, every creation is made up out of that one life. there is indeed only one of us. And so I claim for each one of us that opening to allow more of that divine spirit to pour itself through as abundance, as wholeness, as peace, as freedom, as love, light, order, balance, and so much more. I claim that opening to allow that peace that passeth understanding to fill every heart, mind, soul, and being, to overflow, to transform this world into that great light that each one of us is already. And I claim that expression through all of creation. I claim for each one of us the opening to allow our deepest intent, our deepest yearning to be experienced and expressed and overflow, to heal, to reveal more God in every thought, word, deed, and action. So I give thanks knowing that God is always on the job as each one of us, for all the ways that we are expanded, for all the ways that we are open, for all the ways our hearts are lifted up and transformed. So with a heart overflowing with gratitude, I release this word to the law which knows what to do with it. I let it be, and so it is. Amen.
There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one.
So I invite you to open your hearts and allow yourself to be uplifted and transformed by the healing and inspiring music of Christine Toulis, who tours all over the United States and Europe. So allow yourself to be transported into the realm of the heart through the harp.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here today. So this song is called Leela, which is a Sanskrit word, which means the play of soul, or the play of consciousness. And I'm joined by Amanda on shaker and Bodhi on flute. Hope you enjoy.
Christine Tullis.
How perfect. Good morning, everybody, and a happy Thanksgiving time. I'm Rev Karyl Huntley, for those of you that I don't know, and a warm, warm welcome. Do we have people from the membership team? Yep, we do. So these two people at the corners here have a welcome packet for people who are new to our community. And if you want to know a little bit more about our community, there's information in there. And then so we can know a little more about you, there's a blue card that you can fill out and give it back to one of these lovely folks. And then you'll be in our computer and you will know what's happening here. So whenever that's comfortable for you to do, we don't inundate you with anything, but just want to keep in contact. So anybody here for the first time or back after a long time and would need a packet? Okay, we're all family here. Well, good, excellent. So our theme here for the whole year, we're coming down the home stretch, is spiritual living values. And when we talk about values, of course, it's nice to think about them. And I've been talking about them now for what, 46 weeks? And what we need to do, of course, is commit to them, follow them with action in order for our lives to work better. And that's what my goal is, for all of our lives to work better, okay? So the November theme is living in abundance, and how perfect for this time of year, that's the harvest time of year, for us to look into this subject of abundance and really appreciate it for ourselves. And if there's an aspect of abundance that we're not experiencing, the talks, the lessons are about how to fix that. So I want to draw your attention now to the altar. This is a Marsha Dawson altar. If there was a signature altar for Marsha Dawson, yep, with the deities all around and a little Ganesha over there, and the abundance of these wonderful, wonderful orchids that, you know, they live kind of on air pretty much. A little bit of water now and then, a little, you know, spritz, but they're so generous of spirit. They just keep on giving. So, and Marsha does too with every single altar. So thank you. So in order to really appreciate and live in abundance, today I'm going to go into the principle of abundance, which we talk about all the time, but I'm going to really explain it so that, I mean, everybody's going to get it, all right? So I'm going to talk about principles, first of all. A principle, the way I define it, is that it's a fundamental truth of life that can be proven via application. That means you have to live within the principle in order to prove it. Actually, you don't have to live within the principle. You can just do your own life, spin out of control, and you are still proving the principle. But I'm going to show you how to prove the principle positively today, all right? So, for example, we prove the principle of gravity every single moment that we're on Earth. It's a principle. We are operating within it. We prove it all the time because we're not floating off. We can't not prove it because that's the principle on this earthly plane, and we are living within it. So in order for us to work within the values that are a little more esoteric or that we have a little more choice about, I mean, like, we don't have any choice about gravity. So I want to talk a little bit about the values that we're going to be discussing today and how they impact this idea of principles, because we can't change the principles. We only can change us. Right? We can't change the principles, only change ourselves. So, first value that we're going to talk about today is wisdom. We have to learn about the principles in order to be able to use them effectively. So we're going to gain some wisdom today. The next thing is that it's pretty necessary for us to accept the principle and not fight with it. How ridiculous would it be for us to say, oh, I just hate gravity. I just hate, I would really love to float. Why do I have to be on this plane operating with this gravity? It just doesn't work for me. You know how silly that is? So that's true with every principle. If it's a true principle, we have to abide by it and live within it and agree with it and accept it. That's the first step in working with it positively. And then the last value that we're going to talk about is effort. Because some of this work, this spiritual work, takes some effort. We have to do something over and over and over again in order to develop any kind of skill. And if we were raised not being aware of spiritual principles, and if we had examples of people that fought with the principles, then we have to learn something different in order to work effectively within those principles. So if we weren't raised with life-enhancing principles, well, we weren't. Or we would be ecstatic all the time. All of us would be ecstatic all the time if we were raised with spiritual principles and how to conform within them. Because just like gravity works on this earth plane, if we work within spiritual, physical, metaphysical principles, we're happy. That's it. That's the way it works. So I had a really interesting experience this weekend. I attended a wedding, and the party before the wedding, you know, where all the family gets together. And so I was talking to the best man in this wedding, and he is a high school teacher. So I was saying that I had been a high school teacher as well in my past. And then his wife, kind of across the room, she said, "Oh, did I hear you say that you're an educator?" And I go, "Well, I'm a minister now, but that means, yes, I'm an educator." And they kind of go, "Oh, that's how you define yourself." And actually it is, because I feel like what I do is teach you and remind myself of principles every single week. That's what I do. It's not going to make any difference to you unless you learn. You know, thank God I am in this profession, because I get to listen to myself all the time and remind myself of what I'm doing and not doing. So I'm educating you. Please accept it. Okay? So, we're going to talk about some principles, so you kind of get in the groove here. Here's the first one. This is a scientific principle. It's called equivalence principle of gravity. We've already talked about gravity. This is Newton's thing, where he proved that all objects fall in the same way. So you go up on a tower, you have a cannonball, and you have an apple, and you drop them both at the same time. They hit the ground at the same time. That's a principle. You can prove it. No sense in disbelieving it. No sense in fighting with it. Oh, darn. You know, I thought it was going to be different. No. They fall at the same rate. That's a principle. Got it? Okay. Go on to the next one. A couple of weekends ago, I was teaching about ritual in Encinitas to ministerial students. This is a principle of ritual. The more people involved, the simpler the directions must be for a ritual. It's a principle. There is no sense in giving a long list of instructions to a crowd of people and then say, "Go ahead." It would be absolute chaos, because the principle is not being followed. Are you in accord with these two principles? You get that? Now we're going to go into the one we're really going to talk about today, which is the spiritual principle of abundance. The principle is there is an abundance of all good. There is no use disagreeing with it if you are not experiencing enough good in your life. The way you're going to experience enough good in your life is by living within the values that I'm talking about today. Wisdom, acceptance, and the last one is effort. Doing it over and over again, okay? So here's the title of the talk today. Principles never have problems. They just operate. So this beautiful water lily here, the essence of this water lily is the DNA that produces this beautiful pink color. If you have a color scheme in your pond that does not include this hot pink color, and you are angry at this particular water lily, it doesn't do you any good because the spiritual principle that it is proving is pinkness. Okay? So, if we all knew this, and if we were aware of our spiritual principles, can you see that we'd always be ecstatic? But we don't. We have problems. Ever feel like this? Ah! Okay. Here's why we have problems. First of all, because of ignorance. And it's our ignorance. If we are operating in disharmony with a principle, we suffer. That's exactly what David said in his opening welcome. I love it the way God just does this whole stage management thing for us. And it all falls together. I didn't talk to him about it ahead of time. So I'm going to read to you from the textbook here on page 109. So we must be created with the possibility of limitless freedom and let alone to discover it ourselves. That's the freedom. We can either abide by the principles or not. On the road to self-discovery, we must be subject to the law of reality. That's, in general, the principles. And if in ignorance we violate this law, we must thereby suffer. This is not, however, because any divine decree ordains suffering, but simply because it is the necessity of the case. God never intended us to suffer. Suffering may be salutary in that it leads us to a place where we learn that it is unnecessary. We shall cease to suffer as we more and more comply with the laws of the universe. All suffering is the result of some infringement of these laws. All suffering is because of some infringement of these laws, not because God says, I'm going to annoy this person. Okay, next, we have problems because of doubt. So here's what happens. We know the principle, and we see others use it effectively and productively, but we doubt our own ability to use it. And so, because of another principle, which is, it is done unto you as you believe, it proves itself to us that, yes, we don't know how to use the principle and we suffer. Do you see you see how that goes? If we doubt our ability to use the principle effectively, the universe says, yes, we doubt with you. The universe always says yes. Okay? This is my favorite reason, though, that we have problems. I call it militant disagreement. Let me tell you about militant disagreement, and I bet you every single practitioner has had examples of militant disagreement. So, someone comes to me with some pain, and I teach a principle. I explain the principle. I show examples of the principle. I might even tell my own journey of how I apply the principle. I quote others who have used the principle. And I am met with, yes, but you don't understand my situation. I see the practitioner is nodding. I call this militant disagreement because that person is going to prove that they are different and they suffer in spite of supposedly understanding the principle. They argue right through it and say, I'm different. My situation is different. Essentially saying there is some other law that I am subject to that you have not mentioned. There isn't any other law except it's done unto you as you believe. And if we are working with the law of abundance, we have to agree with that law of abundance. So if you are a yes but person, you've got the problem. You have the problem. So the solution is fabulous. It's fabulous. And it's guaranteed. But this is where effort comes in. So we bring a problem under the control of a principle. That is what healing is. We bring the problem under the control of a principle. So the principle here is you plant the corn, you get the corn. You plant the joy, you get the joy. You plant faith and abundance, you get abundance. That's the principle. So the problem dissolves as the principle flows, the problem dissolves as the problem flows through the principle to the correct answer or to the desired manifestation. That's what happens. You apply this problem to the principle and the problem disappears. However, this is the part that takes effort. This is the part that takes effort because it involves changing consciousness. Consciousness is the felt sense of reality inside, what we think is real. Now, reality really is flexible, but it feels very dense to us. If we are experiencing poverty, that reality feels very dense. And so unraveling it, taking it apart, teasing it into space is what we have to do over and over and over again. That is the effort, okay? You ready? So I'm going to tell you how to do this. I am educating you, and then please do it. Okay? Here it is. The first one is repeat the principle. Now that's pretty easy. And I mean say it over and over again. You say it. You say it aloud. You say it in writing. You chant it. You sing about it. You say it over and over and over again so that your mind sort of says it on its own. You kind of go on automatic. And that's why these New Thought artists have a lot of songs about abundance. You just get that in your head and sing it and sing it and sing it and sing it. I mean, Janet has a CD. What is it called? Abundant Blessings. Talk to Janet. Get on her mailing list. Have her bring you one next week. There's one in the bookstore. Thank you. Woohoo! Okay. Then you look for examples. You turn away from the problem. Let's say you're experiencing impoverishment of any kind. You turn away from the problem and you look for abundance. You look for abundance in the world. You look at the stars, the leaves, the grains of sand, the breaths, the beauty. And you ask others for that, you ask others to describe their consciousness that you think you would like to have. Our founder, Dr. Lloyd Tupper, who's going to be here next week, tells this story when he came from a poor family. And he sat in the lobby of a beautiful bank on Wall Street in New York, soaking in the prosperity consciousness of the people that walked through that bank. That's what he did. And so you can actually have fun with this. How can I show myself abundance? And you show yourself abundance over and over and over again while repeating the principle. You see, it's so fabulous, but you got to do it. Then lastly, you weigh the awareness heavier. The abundance here, poverty here, you're experiencing poverty here. gradually, 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 gradually with effort, the abundance becomes your reality because reality is flexible. So there's a story of David Alt, who now has the Atlanta church. He was here years and years ago, and he told this story of practicing abundance while paying his bills, and he was scared to death of paying his bills because he didn't have enough to pay his bills. And so he was listening to the birds sing outside while he had his checkbook. He listened to the birds sing outside and became happy with the birds and then started to write the check. He would go into fear. He would listen to the birds again. He would weigh the birds heavy, back and forth, birds checkbook, until he felt the same joy in writing the check as listening to the birds. You know, that's effort. That is effort, and he did it for himself. That's all that anybody ever does to change consciousness. So this is the wisdom, the knowledge of the principles. It's acceptance that this is the way it works, and it's effort. It's like leading the puppy of the mind back to the paper. Leading the puppy of the mind back to the paper. You don't yell at yourself. You don't get angry at yourself. You just lead the puppy back to the paper. And sometime or other, the puppy will learn to use the paper. Okay? Very simple. Working with your own mind until you feel the shift happen. When you feel the shift beginning to happen, you then know what it feels like to shift consciousness. So long time ago, when I was in the book business, I sold textbooks, and so my sales year was a whole year long. My goal was 12 months in the future. And for a while I did well, and then for a couple of years I didn't make my goal. And you don't know you're not going to make your goal until you kind of hit the end of the year, and then it's like, ugh. So my boss said, well, Karyl, I don't want to fire you. That's pretty terrifying. And so, for me, because all that job security meant a lot to me, and still does. So I was working with these principles, and I used some affirmations, and one of the affirmations was, I am always in my right place for maximum effectiveness in my job. And after a few weeks of this, I noticed that I sold textbooks to professors. So instead of having the professor's door locked during his office hours, I would just catch them coming out of the office and have a conversation with them. And more, I was just catching them instead of just missing them. That's when I said to myself, oh, that affirmation is working. And I am expecting to be at the perfect place at the right time for maximum effectiveness in my job. So I learned how it feels to watch the universe and feel the shift in me of, oh, I am in the right place instead of just missing. That takes effort. That takes repeating over and over again. So that's the lesson, but I now want to just tell you another story about why this is good for everybody. You doing your work is good for everybody. So you'll notice maybe a picture of a waterbed. This is my favorite part of the talk, so get ready. So this comes from a newsletter that I get on my email, and I'm going to give you the address so you can get David Lorian's emails. Back in the early 70s, two married friends of mine decided to be early adopters of the latest thing in bedroom furniture, the flotation mattress or waterbed. I happened to visit them not long after the bed was delivered, and they delightedly invited me to lie on it. I gingerly made my way to the center of the bed, feeling like I was crawling over a wriggling mass of Jell-O. Once there, though, it felt wonderfully relaxing, like floating on a softly undulating pool of water, which, of course, is basically what I was doing. A couple of weeks later, I saw my friends again, and I asked how they were enjoying their waterbed. The husband gave his wife a rueful look and said, We had to get baffles. Baffles? I asked. Yeah, they're slats that are inserted into the mattress to break up the waves that can form in the water. He then told me that one night his wife had jolted into wakefulness with a painful cramp in her leg. Her thrashing about had created a wave in the water of the mattress that rushed over to her husband's side and flipped him out of bed onto the floor, bruising his arm. My friend was laughing as he related this to me, though he admitted he hadn't been laughing at the time. It is a funny story, but it's more than that. It's an ideal metaphor in many ways for our relationship to the invisible currents of thought and feeling that surround us all the time. It's as if we are all lying on the same waterbed. Though we live our separate lives on the surface, we are resting on invisible networks of connectedness. We are all connected. These connections create a collective human field which, like my friend's flotation mattress, can transmit waves of feeling from one part of humanity to another. People cry out with fear and suffering. And when those waves reach where we are lying, we too can be flipped out. Our consciousness affects all others. We propagate the wave onward through our collective mattress, increasing the chance that others will have their moods, their thoughts, and feelings of being flipped out as well. The situation is not hopeless, but it does require our attention, also effort. We need to understand that our thoughts and feelings can have non-local effects to take responsibility for what we project into the world. One action we can take is exactly the same as my friends took with their waterbed. They got baffles to break up the waves. We can do the same, except in this instance, we are the baffles. Simply by refusing to give attention and energy to sudden flips or bursts of negative feeling and thought, whether stimulated by media or by some hidden, unconscious, invisible, subtle influence, we can stop a wave from developing and propagating further. We can confound negative beliefs and encourage faith in positive experiences. Being a baffle means deliberately standing in a calm, loving, solid place. And this means knowing yourself. It means cultivating the kind of emotions and thoughts in the moment that you would like to receive from others, that you would find supportive, encouraging, protective, and loving. We can't help broadcasting into subtle environment, into the network of connections that tie us all together, into the waterbed of humanity. But we can choose what we project. And when we run into its opposite, as we surely will, we can then transform it or at least not pass it on. And finally, we can change the world. And we really must. So, the values, which I beg you to integrate: wisdom, acceptance, and effort. So, let's go into the inner work now. And as we contemplate this last Sunday before our holiday of Thanksgiving, and as we remind ourselves that gratitude is a very, very, very important part in using the principle of abundance, I'd like to go all the way from this scientific field of principle into that earth-based spirituality that many of us love so much, and remind us of the origin of the cornucopia. As that horned god broke off a horn. So if you like the horned god, picture him. If you just like a great big mountain sheep with those curly horns, imagine one of those horns breaking off and expanding into a great horn of plenty. That horn of plenty is right with you. It's pouring over you. It's in your arms. It's overflowing of all of the good that you could ever, ever want. Certainly all the harvest, beautiful squashes and corn and all of that that we have this time of year. And then abundance of love pouring out of this horn. Abundance of beauty. Abundance of peace pouring over you and through you. Abundance of solutions and right action and good ideas and clear pathways. Exactly where you need to go, when you need to take that step, and who you need to take with you. It's all revealed because that's part of the good that is available to you. All peace of mind, all creativity, all work that is yours to do with some little sprinkling of a seasoning that makes it easy enough that you actually do it. And that experience of being filled up with good, filled up so that you are overflowing. You become your own cornucopia. You are a horn of plenty for the world. And people who see you see an abundance of good that is theirs as well. This is the blessing of this season. And so with wisdom, acceptance, and enough effort to make it happen, we all do. And so it is. Amen.
Effortlessly, love flows from God to humanity. Like a bird flies through the air, Spirit is our harpist, and all strings which are touched in love must sound.
With Thanksgiving coming up, there is so very much to be grateful for. We're grateful for the wonderful music and the exceptional talk you gave today. And we're grateful for your presence here and for your generosity that helps us make all this possible, to pay rent to this center of Corte, Madera, so we're able to be here. And if the ushers would come forward, this is the time for conscious contribution. And I would ask you, as you are doing this, to go look at your neighbors and say thank you for your presence here, and thank you for your generosity to make this possible. If the ushers, yes.
God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need.
So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. And I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need.
God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything
I need.
So say with me, This gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time. So it is.
Okay, my little darlings, here's the announcements. We are grateful today for Jim doing setup, for Bob Gordon doing sound, the video, Ron and David. Hi, everybody up there, TV land. Mary, Reverend Mary for doing PowerPoint. Our practitioners on the table today, Marsha for the gorgeous altar, Christine, Bodie, and Amanda for the fabulous music, Cindy Lou for the bookstore, and the Sunday team is led by Maria Clothier and Youth and Family with Deborah back there available for children. And I also want to say in gratitude that you were given today a card. And the card is for you to write what you want to be grateful for next year at this time. And as is our custom, we mail them to you 10 days before Thanksgiving. You got yours from last year, right? And you know, this is just part of consciousness, helping us to be grateful for our future blessings. So if you need a pen for that right now, Paula has a pen for you. And what you can do, well, just fill them out, and then I'll tell you what to do. So next is, well, actually, before we go, look at his beautiful face up there. And what we don't have a slide for, you have in your hands, which is the craft fair. There are directions on that flyer for what to do if you would like to be in the craft fair selling your crafts, which will be, the sale is the second Sunday of December. So do what it says on that flyer if you would like to sell your crafts, and we'll have kind of like a little village fair here on that day. It's going to be wonderful. Okay, now looking at his gorgeous face, he is going to be our speaker next Sunday, and at that time we are going to give him a gift for his 50 years of service in Science of Mind. So Cindy Lou, the box, see that lovely heart box? Now there's a slot in the top. So what you do is you reach into your pocketbook or your pocket if you would like to contribute to this beautiful, beautiful commemorative gift that we're going to give Lloyd, which is a vase, a beautiful crystal vase, and on it is inscribed 50 years of gratitude. I mean, a little bit better words than that, but it's going to be beautiful, and it's a surprise, so don't tell him. Next, that same day, we are having the premiere of the Science of Earth. Work is that right after the service, we will reconfigure all deviled eggs. And that would be just easy. Just a beautiful thing of deviled eggs. And the sign-up sheet is on the event table back there. There's 3 people signed up, so I'm going to have to make a whole lot of deviled eggs if more of you don't sign up, okay? So that's next week, and the premiere is free. We will take up an offering at that time, but it's going to be wonderful, and the cast is going to be here, and then there's going to be a Q&A afterwards with Reverend Merrill and Leo, who actually lived right behind Ernest Holmes' home. So she knows a lot about him. So be sure to come next week and stay for another couple hours. Next, Bodie is going to do a wonderful soundscape on November 24th of his shamanic music with his cohorts there from 4 to 6. And next is my new class. That's the sign up over here at the education table. If you would like more in-depth support for prosperity, please come. It's going to be a brand new class with brand new topics, as new as I can make this lesson. but we're going to have fun with it, and you're going to shift consciousness, and me too. So sign up if you would like to come. It's on Tuesdays, starting up at the end of this month. Scorpio birthdays are next. If you are a Scorpio baby and would like to have a gift from your spiritual community, just go to the practitioner table and fill out a spiritual checkup form. Call one of the practitioners on the back, and you can have a free session for your birthday. Next, the winter solstice. This is going to be on Wednesday the 20th, which is really just a very, very few hours before the actual moment of solstice. It's going to be at the Learning Center, and we have 2 teams that are forming. If you would like to work with us on this, there's a food team and a decoration team, or it's called a service team. Those 2 signups are on the back table as well. This is going to be at 7 p.m. It's going to be a more intimate experience than we've had here, you know, with all the lighting and big music and everything. It's going to be shamanic healing journey. We'll still have fire. We'll still have ritual. It will be intimate and perfect for that dark time of year, and only 50 people can come. So we are actually going to close the doors after 50 people. So if you would like to be a part of the winter solstice with your spiritual family, please do come early. Next, Maria Clothier, are you done from the kitchen? Okay, this is an RScP announcement, and Maria Clothier knows everything about RScP. And we have actually increased our income from RScP from about 7 cents a month to about $2.50, right?
What, 200 a month? Well, no, we're up to was 38 was our.
Oh, $38. Okay, we need
but
to
that's
add
only
some
7
zeros.
supporters, so
okay.
We have a lot of room to grow. So that's what I was just wanting to talk, and actually, Rev Karyl, you inspired me, law of abundance, so I'm here to talk about free money again. I love RScP. I get so happy when I make my purchases and on my mobile app, and it tells me exactly how much, when I bought a gift card, how much gets donated to Golden Gate Center. It's just so exciting. I don't know. So I just, again, wanting to, and also, though, thinking about how many people I'm speaking to, and again, Rev Karyl, I need to keep my message maybe a little simpler. So for the holidays, I think it's really a great time to sign up for RScP and to do online shopping. So and I think maybe the way to make it easiest is I'm going to be over there at that table. If you want to give me your email, I will email you the links. So it's very simple. The first thing you do is just sign up for RScP, and then you click on this Forget-Me-Not software that will be on your computer, and whenever you're shopping online on your computer at one of these stores that donates, sometimes they'll donate 2.4% of your purchase. So if you spend $100, $2.40 goes to Golden Gate. If a bunch of us do that, it really adds up. It's the multiplier effect. So I know you think, oh, just me, it's not much, but honestly, if 7 people, I think, like we said, we came from a couple of pennies to now we're up to $38 a month. If we can keep the momentum going, I'm like really excited that we can get up to $250 a month or $500 a month.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we could use the money. I don't know the finances, honestly, of it, but I'm just assuming that we could probably use that money, and it's really, it's not you doing anything. You're not giving the money. The corporations will give the money if you just sign up. So I'll be over there if you want to give me your email. I'm so happy to help any way I can. But just think, online shopping, Christmas, we can do this.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you. Okay, Thanksgiving. I want all of you to have the happiest Thanksgiving ever. And just to conclude about the Thanksgiving cards, we already have the offering taken. So if... Okay, Paula's back there accepting cards. If you want to give them back there, just hand them to Paula. And if you would like to have a Thanksgiving connection with Temenos in Ukraine, simply email Reverend Barbara. Her email is on the bulletin, and she will tell you how to connect with our folks in Temenos and share blessings with them. Next, Ed Dudkowski's memorial is Saturday, November 25th. And so we're going to have a big weekend next weekend. And so you're all welcome to be at this wonderful memorial service. It should be absolutely wonderful. And before we run a 2-minute film about our wonderful Ed, I want to get this in. Don't take down the chairs. There's going to be an event following. So let's just watch this 2-minute video of Ed, and then I'll let you go.
Ed Dudkowski was a man who stood out among many. A family man, a friend, an inventor, a videographer, a producer, director, editor, and narrator, and also a very, very important and integral member of the Worldwide Forgiveness Alliance team. He was the driving force behind the video images of every Forgiveness Day event since the very first International Forgiveness Day event in 1996. He organized the crews and the equipment. He directed every aspect of the video production. Then he took over the editing, and as for the narration, that was Ed's voice all the way. But Ed went even further because he took the extra steps to make sure that our video events were broadcast on television. The outstanding work of Ed Dudkowski went a long, long way to making the work of the Worldwide Forgiveness Alliance visible and spreading the healing energy of forgiveness around the world. Ed Dudkowski, he is truly a champion of forgiveness.
Oh. So my blessing for us all today is that we truly, truly accept the blessings of abundance, that our hearts are filled with gratitude, and that Spirit guides our way. Please stand now for our affirmation and closing song. Right up here. I am a powerful force for good in the world. I use spiritual principles to heal and resolve problems, knowing that it is my natural state to experience abundance of all good.
I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. Woohoo! See you next Sunday. Happy Thanksgiving. Please stand now for our affirmation and closing song. The affirmation's right up here. Thank you again to Rachel for